going on, everybody? Welcome into the Highlight, a business podcast for business people. And as we always say, it's only for the most serious. And today I got my super serious business partner on the line. I'm glad you showed. Man, this is like 2 weeks in a row you've shown up for work. I'm very excited to see you, Austin. Welcome in.
Yeah, it's because I take this podcast so seriously, Chandler, obviously. Making time, especially today, for our good friend and one of our favorite clients ever, Caitlin Radecki. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, what's up?
Well, I mean, we this is going to be fun because we're all been friends for a long time. We worked together previously, and now here we are in new roles and still working together. But Caitlin, I'd love for you to just take a second and fill everybody else in the podcast who's not your best friend like we are, and just give us a little bit of your background, and then we can jump into today's show.
Absolutely. Well, my name's Caitlin Radecki. I am the director of retail marketing at Varsity Spirit. I've been in the fashion side of this business for what I call 1, 2, skip a few, which is that I started my career out with Varsity Spirit, the leader in cheerleading and dance, apparel, events, competitions, and summer camps, and started out there for about 4 years. And then hopped over to Nashville, Tennessee, started working with these two guys over at Ramsey Solutions for a couple years. And then I am back with Varsity Spirit for a little bit over a year and have been leading the fashion marketing efforts as well as our retail and direct-to-consumer, which is now what I'm completely focused on. So a lot of cheerleading background. For you, a bunch of verbiage I'll probably drop, teach you guys some skills and lingo today.
We need it.
And also a lot of e-commerce and consumer product background as well.
It's funny. Austin and I talk about it all the time, running a digital shop like we do. We end up being plugged into so many different industries. And if you told me at the end of 21, when we started this company, that we would be helping the best cheerleading supplier, like we'd be in that world, I would have laughed at you because I would have told you that the two of us had zero business being anywhere near that. And here we are. And I will say that you and your team are great, gracious teachers and very happy to let us be the dumb guys in the room and ask questions about, well, what does that word mean exactly? And we're not in the culture yet. But now we were talking about it pre-show. Our algorithms have officially swapped over, and now all of a sudden we're getting all the TikTok cheerleading stuff and the Instagram Reels cheerleading stuff, and like I'm sending you random content ideas, and then I feel dumb because you're like, bro, we sent that out 6 hours ago. You're still behind. And so like I've got some ground to gain in this world, but we'll catch up eventually.
I definitely rely on, we have some very extremely talented social media marketers on our side, and they are teaching me new things every day. I was just at a competition, NCAA All-Star Nationals in Dallas, Texas this past week. And at one point, after I got a little break, I just walked around with one of our social media marketers and just watched her and observed. And the amount of research and pre-work on what's trending, what sounds, what captions, everything like that, is just fascinating to me. I understand just enough to stay social savvy on my own, but I learn something every day from that team, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, we call it knowing enough to be dangerous. But I will say you're still a great follow on LinkedIn. You have a lot of really good marketing nuggets, and that's one of the reasons beyond just being a client and us talking marketing. But like you have a lot of really good stuff on LinkedIn, I think, all the time. And so I'd love to know, like we talked about you're on the B2B side originally, and now you're at Varsity, you're transitioning over to the B2C side. And so talk to me about the B2B side of things. Like, what was it like marketing that brand in that space in that way? And then sort of what are the differences nowadays with what you're doing?
For me, it reminds me a lot of in sports when there's always a person who scores the goal, but there's also, enough tracking around assists. And marketing in the B2B space is all about being the perfect assist, being able to toss it to your sales teammates so they can dunk it, right? And That's been really my main focus for the last year. Our business has been around since the 70s. So we are far and away the leader in this space. And what that means is that our sales reps know our customer in and out, and they have those really close relationships and understandings of those customers all across the country. And so, as a marketer, you have to go a little bit wider in the B2B space and start looking at, okay, how can I increase my leads? What metrics of success is our team going to hold ourselves to? Because it doesn't always look as clean as this activity made this sale and that's how much revenue we're bringing in. It really takes us looking at a team approach with our sales team and saying, all right, here's the value of a lead. Now let's go get it. Let's go for this customer. Let's understand them more and figure out from a different perspective how they feel in what they're looking for in that product experience, that we can help make the reps experience easier and make the customers experience easier. So yeah, it was all about the assist. I have a background in e-commerce, and I'm an Enneagram 3, recovering Enneagram 3 is what I like to say. So I love that feeling of e-commerce and being able to see that you can actually turn the dial and see impact, which is why this weekend was so helpful for me, just to be around customers face to face. Because in B2B, when you're in a marketing role and you're in a corporate role, you have to be ambitious and aggressive about getting out in the marketplace and understanding your customer, because you're not face to face with them every day.
Yeah, and it's been really fun getting to kind of be a part of both sides of that coin, getting to be kind of plugged in to helping drive some kind of B2B style leads, and then also on the flip side of that, getting to help optimize the e-commerce side of the business. And I think it's one thing I'll say about your team is that they definitely understood the idea that quality of that lead being passed off to the sales team is so much more important than just dumping a truckload of leads onto the sales team's table. We've had several conversations about how we can actually cut back on volume and kind of fine tune our quality to make sure that the sales team's time is being spent wisely and not on these kind of worn out, not worth, pursuing leads. And, yeah, I commend you guys for that, because not everyone takes that approach from the marketing side. It's very easy to say, oh, well, we gave you all these leads. Why aren't y'all doing a good job? And the reality is you're both on the same team trying to push towards the same goal. And so when we take that view and we actually kind of look at things from a higher level, it's amazing. And so it's no surprise y'all have been around for so long and y'all are crushing the market like you are, because the team is just, everyone seems to have the right mentality over there.
It's the old adage, the old joke that like the sales and marketing teams always have a fight with each other, where like sales isn't closing enough business and marketing is not giving them enough qualified leads. And like there's so many internet memes about that. So yeah, you can go ahead with your thought on the team.
It's all about the timing as well. The timing of the lead, not just for the customer, but making sure it's the right timing for the rep to actually be able to capitalize on that lead, making sure that they have the bandwidth and the tools to be able to reach out. They have the time to reach out. We've definitely had to learn a lot and work really closely together through a lot of trial and error to really understand the delicate balance of our season and our seasonality of cheerleading, to make sure that when we are giving them the lead, it's at a time when the product is in inventory, they can be customized in a timely fashion, the rep can make the visit out to the school. Something that differentiates us from everyone out there is that it's not just this bulk order of uniforms. They are personally sized by their sales rep, so that a uniform is truly custom, fit and all for each athlete. And with that means that we have to make sure that it fits into the schedule for both the customer and the sales rep to make this really cohesive experience for them with the brand. And that's something that we've really worked on and improved on over the last year.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I do want to circle back for a second because you said something interesting. You said B2B is all about creating the perfect assist. And so now I want to be selfish as an agency owner. You know, all of our clients, pretty much, I would say 90% of our clients are B2C clients, which is interesting. So we tend to be pretty good at that. But from the B2B side of things, you know, we're almost the painter that has a house that's too dirty. We're so busy executing work and growing this business that we're not always doing the right blocking and tackling and creating those perfect assists like you're talking about. So I'd love to know, like, when you're trying to create a perfect assist, what are some of the levers or tools or techniques that you're doing or were doing in your old role from the B2B side of things?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things was making sure that we were focusing our team and our resources in the right place. This business has been around a long time. Marketing, and especially digital marketing, has not been around as long as our business has been. And so in the past, there was this leaning on tools like flyers and
Old school
images that they may place into an Outlook email, and some more antiquated marketing tools and selling tools that we don't really leverage today in digital marketing. And the team has become very reliant on those things because that's what they used the prior year. And really what I did last year was we got our team to step back, look at the business, and look where we could actually improve and measure our growth. And we can't measure flyers. We also don't know what impact that makes. So I focused on the channels that have metrics we could improve on. And that comes down to leads. So if we were doing a flyer, we're going to make sure we have QR codes that are tracked. If we are doing graphics, we're making sure they're social and we're giving them captions. We're giving them really the tools so that they can execute it across more modern marketing channels, as well as we're just making sure that everything is really, it's got its UTM parameters, it's following all the way through so we can actually measure the success of it. And having small but measurable results is way more helpful to the business than having big results that you don't know where it came from and you don't know how to make it better. So that's what we focused on this past year, and we've been able to save a lot of time on our graphic designers' bandwidth. Instead of making flyers 24/7, she's looking at paid ads. One of the great things that we've worked on with you guys is starting to get the answers on what's actually performing well in our graphics. She's taking those and applying them to the paid channels, to our email channels, other things like that. So that's been a great and a better use of our time as a marketing team.
I love what you said there about you can't scale what you don't know. So even if it's a big result and you have no data, it's like you have no way to know which thing that you did will replicate that the next time. And so that's great. You can't scale the unknown, and a small measurable result is more useful to the marketer. That's gold. I love that.
You know, it's funny. People that have been listening to the podcast for a while now know this is sort of where Austin and I tend to split in our backgrounds and I think our strengths just as marketers and business people in general. I tend to be the give me the story, give me the magic, like let's create something cool and see what happens. And so I tend to I like things. Austin has brought me around. I'm hedging a little bit. Austin has definitely, and Ben Tonek as well, has definitely brought me around to the dark side of data and like show me the UTM link and make it trackable. And okay, I get it. Is there any place in your mind, though, from a B2B standpoint, specifically probably, to actually do marketing activities that aren't necessarily trackable?
I'm going to say that Austin already knows the answer to this because as someone who used to sit directly beside me at the office, there's about 1 out of 5 times where you've got to say, you got to risk it for the biscuit. And I know that I've said that phrase at several different times. I think it's all about calculated risk. So it's looking at channels that we haven't done before. Right now, we're digging into TikTok with you guys on paid advertising. That is the new frontier. And with TikTok advertising, we may not have an idea going into it what that return will be. So we know from our growth and our budgeting that we've got an amount that we're willing to spend to learn. And I think as long as you phrase it and explain it and protect it with stakeholders by explaining that it is only budget to learn, and if it works, we're going to lean in. If it doesn't, we learned and we move on, right? And I think as long as you are communicating that properly with your stakeholders and you've got that budget, it's worth continuing to try and test new things.
Yeah.
Especially in B2B.
Well, I was about to say, you gave us the terminology there. It's the risk it to get the biscuit. I definitely think we have a podcast episode name. Usually I have to struggle through to like come up with a name for these things, but that's golden. I love that. And I know you're from South Carolina, right? Like down there somewhere. Like
yes.
you cheered at South Carolina, right? Yeah, this was our only thing. Like I'm a big Georgia fan, right? So this is like our little bit of our competitive rivalry here, but it's all good. But yeah,
absolutely. We've got a solid SEC rivalry on all fronts on this podcast.
That's it. Yeah, that's Austin is for some reason an A&M fan. He's got his mug he's sipping out of over here as well. I got to deal with that nonsense all the time. But I back to the thing you just talked about. The testing piece is really interesting to me, and I love the idea of communicating that to stakeholders really well. That makes a lot of sense to me because I think I originally read this in maybe Good to Great by Jim Collins, but he talked about the companies that tended to go from good to great most consistently were spending like 10% of their budget on R&D activities. And I think that can expand beyond just new product development where you're just working on building the new thing. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. At least we tried. But you can also do that within marketing. You can try that within new sales techniques. You can expand that to a whole bunch of different areas inside of the business. And I think for some reason there's some leaders inside of organizations that are maybe afraid to do that. Why do you think that is based on your experience in corporate America over the last couple of years?
I think you're afraid of things you don't know, especially if it's being pushed on you. As a stakeholder, it's easy to put the defensive walls up. I think it takes a level of comfortability with being uncomfortable and with not being the subject matter expertise on that channel. If I were to, it's one thing for me to assign budget to social media. It's another thing for me to approve a social post or an ad group that I wouldn't necessarily have created and may seem off the wall. Some of our most viral, engaging pieces of content are all things I would have never been totally comfortable with, and then our fans respond in just an outpouring. So there takes a little bit of give and take because you can only go so far with surveys with customers. They're always going to be their ideal selves. They're never going to truly tell you what they want or don't want. There's always a limit to it. They're thinking in an ideal state where they don't have to pay for something. That's what they want. But actually in the buyer experience this weekend at NCA, we put out hundreds of new SKUs and product categories out for sale, and they were all under the expectation of these are a test. We are seeing if some of these products are something that people at this event would like. And there were several products that from the start I was like, I hate that. Like, this is not working with my aesthetic. It's not what I would want to buy. And then those things sold out immediately. We've been working on Crocs. I'm not a Croc
I was going to bring it up if you didn't bring it up. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not
we had
a Croc
to talk
enthusiast.
about Crocs.
I'm sorry to tell you, I've never worn them before. But these kids love the Crocs. And it's such a cool, engaging collaboration with them. I've really enjoyed the partnership with them because it's opened my eyes, and it's that constant reminder that we are not the customer. So go for it. So try. So see if they want it. Put it out into the marketplace and really see if there's actually demand for it. Because until it actually is out there, you're not going to get a real answer.
I love the fact that y'all were willing to let us test the advertising around the Crocs, because when I saw that that was an option on the website, I thought, this is something that we have not really played with and paid yet. This is something that's got a big name and an interesting following around it. And quite frankly, the Varsity brand is big enough that I believe that there had to be, in the Venn diagram, there had to have been a center there where there are Croc lovers and Varsity lovers in the same place. And what we're finding is we're getting pretty good results. We're actually seeing some of those ads are our top performing in paid social. And what's really interesting, and I will say we've had to be a little bit more just careful with the comments, but I have really enjoyed it because there is some funny banter back and forth about these people. There's a whole side that love it, and there's a whole side that hate it, and they all want to talk. And Caitlin, as you know, those that engage on ads drive the costs down.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's been so helpful.
Comments. That's cheaper.
Absolutely not.
Driving those CPMs
Even
down,
those,
baby.
right. In this case, it really is there's no bad press situation. You're getting better CPMs, and we're seeing stronger returns. And so, man, that has been such a fun campaign to work on with you guys. And we're expanding that. We've already expanded it into Google. We're about to expand it into TikTok as one of our first tests. We are just so pumped to see it. And honestly, the designs are so fun. So if you haven't seen those yet, shop.varsity.com. You got to go check out the Crocs. My wife's already asked for a pair. So
UTM link. Can we get some data around that just so we can
Swipe
some
up.
more worth here?
Yep.
That's right. But Caitlin,
if
have
you
you
see
ever
one of
heard
the ads, click on that. That'll help.
Oh my God. Caitlin, have you ever heard the story of why Crocs had the big turnaround maybe 7-8 years ago? Like what caused them to
No, I
come
haven't.
back? Yeah, so they used to be the big like dad outdoor mowing the grass, barbecue, weather, whatever shoe.
Those
and just
lime
sort of this,
green
like,
ones.
very niche audience of like suburban dads. That was kind of who wore Crocs. And so have you seen those Stanley tumblers around, the big water jugs that everybody has? I'm sure in your world.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you have
Oh,
one
I'm
in your
sorry.
room
Am
somewhere?
I a millennial white girl? Yes.
I was
I've
going to
seen
say,
the Stanley Cups.
she just got back from the cheer competition. I'm sure she saw hundreds
Well,
of them.
I'm not a big assumer guy. You know what they say about assumptioning, and I'm not going to do that, especially here on the internet where everything is recorded forever. And so I'm going to act like I wouldn't actually assume that. But what's funny, so we just did a speaking gig for the NAA, which is the National Auctioneers Association. In preparation for that, I was trying to find a way to explain in an analogy that like influencer marketing is a really big deal, and it's a really good way to leverage other people's social media channels to help grow your own brand. And so then I'm like doing some research and I'm digging, and then I remembered that my wife made me buy this stupid Stanley water bottle for like $50 or something crazy. When we already have, Caitlin, 50 water bottles in our house. Like I've got Yetis coming out of my ears. I've got
I've heard the
Nalgene's,
same rant from my husband. So
You
I
got
get
more
it, I get
lids
it.
than you got cups.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Well, and what ended up happening was the same. So the guy that came in and took over Stanley, which was a 100-year-old camping brand, he got that job because he, as I understand it, went and turned around Crocs as one of their marketing leaders inside of that organization. So he was the pioneer for getting them on the. I think they did a Justin Bieber collaboration. They did was it Post Malone Austin as well? Like they did a few different big celebrity things, and then they started leveraging on the Crocs side influencer marketing. And so that's what brought Crocs to the Gen Z, and then they're like Gen Z is already unhinged enough as a generation, so they're all in on the crazy looking holy shoes that were ironically ugly, and now they're cool. I don't know. And so it's funny that you see the lessons he learned from testing that on the Crocs side of things, and he brought them to Stanley and turned around a 100-year-old camping supply brand, and now all of a sudden here we are talking about it with a major player in the marketing of cheerleading brands. So it's funny how. It works. It gets you every time. So I got to ask, so you said that part of your B2B situation was that you're walking around talking to customers directly. And I do think that works for direct to consumer or, B2B. We got to be talking to our customers for sure. So I would love to know, like, is there anything, maybe not so Varsity specific, that you gleaned insight wise from people that you were talking to? Is it that, hey, we should all be on TikTok 24/7 and not do anything else? Or is it like, hey, Facebook is still a thing? Like what did you hear from everybody on the floor there in Dallas?
First of all, Facebook is very much a thing, and it can be really easy to forget about one or the other, whether it's in the Facebook area with older generations or TikTok with the bottom. One thing that we have that's unique is we have two very distinct influencers in the buying process. We have the millennials and Gen Xers who are the parents, and then we have the athletes who are either Gen Z or Gen Alpha, and their influence for both have to buy in order to make the purchase. And so what I did was walk through our event shop experience and just listen. So I just stood there as a shopper, tidied up when I could, but I just listened to people. And one of the most fascinating things was watching different parents come in, FaceTiming other parents who couldn't be in the shop to
Oh,
walk
wow.
them through the shopping process. And I thought, oh, this is fascinating. I'm going to follow some of them and just listen in on their
Yeah.
conversations and trying to understand, okay, they are efficient. They have a schedule that they have to tend to. They have to make sure their kid gets from point A to point B, gets ready, competes, shows up to warm-ups on time, all that stuff. And the parent is sitting there going to the shop in just battle mode, ready to get exactly what they need to get for the event and then get back to where they need to be. And so they're teaming up with each other to shop strategically. They know early on by either filming everything that's going to be in the shop from the start and then sharing it out with other parents, to going in and sharing that with the parent back from their hotel room. So understanding that experience helps me understand, okay, we need to be creating content before the event that could be that helpful. Why are they creating an experiential guide that we could do with high quality and help a lot of
Yeah.
people? And that would be very engaging. It also
And
would
feature
give
the
us
products you want to
earlier
feature.
answers on what people are interested in just by
Yeah.
giving them a preview to different products. So we're learning. That was one of the things I picked up in Dallas. You can learn a lot about different price points people are happy with. They'll either be surprised in a good way or surprised in a bad way by a product. And you just kind of got to sit there with your phone and take some notes and say, all right, this one's probably a little bit too steep for them. Let's kind of revisit.
Yeah.
But overall, really great experience. And I think adding a lot of visual pieces to our event shop helped gravitate more traffic to it, which was the gamble that I took from a marketing standpoint going into the event, which was if I create some Instagrammable moments, some backdrops, some other things like that, will it actually drive people to come in and shop, or will it just drive people to take a picture and leave? And so I watched and observed a lot of that.
How did it go? Was it mostly pictures and out, or did it actually drive some revenue from a shop standpoint?
It did drive shopping because it was a lot of, while we're here, it was making sure that people were doing that on their way in. It was at the entry point. We also had a lot faster of a process at this event than we've had in the past, which was really impressive from our team. We staffed up, scaled up our staffing a lot so that the checkout process and entry process went a lot faster, a lot smoother. And we saw a lot of additional pickup from products just by being in the right placement near the entry and other things like that. So we learned a lot, and we really had a successful weekend.
And I saw the shop that y'all set up, and it was beautiful. I mean, we saw the kind of the before and after pictures that you shared, and you kind of took a big open space. It almost looked like an airport terminal and turned it into, to your point, it was, I would say Instagrammable is probably the best way to put it, because I mean, it just seemed like there were picture worthy spots all around. And that's so cool to hear the backstory now on kind of why that was done on the front end, and also to hear that, obviously we're pumped for you guys that it was a success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe my entire personality was centered around that balloon arch that I added. It became a whole thing, but I named her and everything.
What was the name?
I don't know if you'll be able
Is
to
that
keep
safe for
this,
work?
but I named her Trina because she's a bad bitch.
Oh, we're keeping it.
Yo, this is that may be the new title for the episode. I don't know, Caitlin. I gotta tell you, you're really good for some one-liners. I feel like we need to start another T-shirt company, just like I don't know, Bad Bitches
Oh,
Are
there
Us
you
or
go.
something, and we just like risk it to get the biscuit. Could be a shirt saying like I think we've got something here for the future. I do want to
Oh
I
my
want to circle
gosh.
back to one more thing really quick that you just said that was interesting to me. You said that you got people one on one and you were talking to them, but then you were listening, and I picked up on that because my tendency, and I think a lot of people's tendency tends to be like, I'm really passionate about this product. I want to sell it to you. And a lot of times sales for people turns into like word vomit and they're just talking way, 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 way too much. And they're not asking questions and then using the 2 ears, 1 mouth method and listening more than they're speaking, right? So like walk us through, like, is there a ratio of how much you're trying to talk in those conversations to get the right insights out of them? And like, what are the best questions to ask customers to actually get information out that you can use that's valuable as a marketer to make better decisions?
Depending on how much traffic you're getting, I try to say as little as possible and really become a fly on the wall. At this event, I strategically didn't wear a varsity polo or anything like that. I really dressed as a spectator. I had my credentials to get in where I needed to, but I dressed as a spectator so that I would blend with the environment. And with that, I was able to just pick up on a lot of natural conversations that parents were having with their kids about whether it was a product or listening to what competitors were doing. I mean, they would talk, parents and kids would walk into our shop and compare our products to competitor products without
Yeah,
me
I'm
having to
sure.
interact with them at any point. And learning that, I learned a lot at our test track, which is where we test our shoes. So we allow kids to come in. We've got a spring floor strip for them to tumble down so they can try on the
Cool.
shoes and actually test them out running tumbling passes. And we found that that's extremely helpful for us. And it takes a lot of work to manage that and maintain
I
and
bet.
police it at some points, making sure kids aren't doing crazy things on the mat for sure, but it also allows them to tumble in the shoe and for them to overcome any hesitations they have about it or brand affinities that they have,
Right.
loyalties that they have for other brands and things like that. It allows them to test in a safe environment, which they will talk about what they like. They'll talk about what they don't like. It's what I love about working with teen consumers. They're brutal
Mhm.
in the best
Mhm.
way because they don't want to
That
tell, like,
honest
they're not
filter.
going to go out of their way to tell you what you want to hear. They're really
Mhm.
going to say, they either love it or they hate it, and you can understand why. So
Mhm.
a lot of times I'll ask them to like explain that or unpack what they just said, but
Mhm.
otherwise I'll just sit there, listen for the opportunity, and then jump in with some more specifics. I try not to ask too many questions because it's just too easy to lead someone to the right
Mhm.
answer. Once they feel like you're leading them
Mhm.
to something, they're going to tell you they love it
They're
and
bought
they
out.
would buy
Mhm.
it and they would wear it. And you may not see them ever do that. So,
Mhm.
I think the test track, the springboard idea is such a good one, and it relates so much because, I buy 90% of everything I buy online. I shop my clothes online. I mean, I know what sizes I like, but the one thing I don't buy online ever is running shoes. I like to run, and I will never buy one online because it's so easy to have such a specific one little thing that doesn't fit your foot just right can totally throw off, what you're used to doing during a run. And I always get my shoes from Fleet Feet because they do something very similar to that. They'll let you put your shoes on. They actually have people come and ask about certain parts to make sure you're feeling comfortable. But then the one that I'm used to going to, they're kind of on a strip, and they will encourage you to go out and run a few laps up and down the strip. And I'm not gonna lie, I've even had people come out and been like, kind of like watching me, they're getting real low down by my feet to see if it looks comfortable. And I mean, it's mind blowing that they would actually take the time to do that, but it always makes me feel comfortable because I tell myself going in, I'm not necessarily going to buy the shoe that I know is the brand that, I think I want. Instead, I'm going to let the expert, pull a few options that he thinks I might like. I'm going to try them all on, and I know they're going to let me run around in them. And so at the end of the day, I feel super confident going back home and going on that first long run in the new shoes, knowing that I'm not going to end up with crazy blisters all over the place because, I took the chance to try them on. And the fact that y'all do that, and the fact that you add the springboard to make it even more, close to the end experience for them, it's brilliant. And so I love that. I had to take a moment to unpack that for myself because I'm like, yeah, very, very cool idea.
Well, I got to tell
Also,
you,
I think from the branding and marketing standpoint, it's a different way we look at it versus a salesperson's mentality on it. As far as conversion, we look at it very cyclical. So I know we have the marketing, the verbiage, the copywriting, the creative to help tell a story and show a product and explain it that leads to a conversion. But if that marketing isn't absolutely true to what the product is, then I'm going to have to deal with that later as a product review.
yeah.
And that product review cannot, if it's good, it can feed right back into that acquisition marketing. If it's bad, that's additional cost and cleanup that I can't just make disappear. I have to actually work together with that product to make sure that I'm selling it accurately and making sure that the customer is going to be extremely content with the purchase that they make. And yeah, it's not easy, but it does make the entire marketing process easier when you do it right from the start.
It's like fixing it at the lowest level possible. That's smart. I was laughing during that whole thing where you were talking about the springboard, and then Austin launches into a 7-minute tirade about his springboard experience. We have a client in Indiana that owns a gymnastic facility, and we get to go up there twice a year to visit them on site and really dig into their marketing and all the things. But they have a giant 5,500 square foot facility, and a big portion of that is trampolines and a big giant blue springboard. And there may be video floating out there around of me and Austin trying to do some different acrobatic activities. And if you're, maybe if you get us on the right day, we'll show it to you. But it's rough. We are definitely old dads at this point. We've got a lot left. We have nothing left in the tank. That's actually what I'm trying to say. It's
I
rough.
thought I did. And then a few months ago, we shot some shoe marketing videos, and we got to go to a cheerleading gym in Houston. I was just feeling it. I felt like I could do it. And I went and started tumbling on the tumble track, the trampoline, and I just ate it. And it was humbling.
What's that Tony Keith
love
song?
that.
I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Like, I don't even think I got the once in me anymore. I think it's gone. I think it's over.
Nope. That version of me, she's gone. That chapter is closed. Luckily, I can still relate on the apparel side.
There you go.
I bounced on Chandler's daughter's trampoline 3 times. I think I made 3 bounces, and I tried to do the feet to back to feet like I remember doing as a kid, and I just didn't do it right, I guess. I don't know. And I went back, and my head did a crazy slamming against it was horrible. And I was like, yep, that's it. It's over from there. I'm never getting back on this thing.
And
Ball game.
pride cometh before the fall, because I was so devastated by that. I stood there on the trampoline for 20 more minutes, flipping until I landed a back tuck. And I was so proud of myself. And that was probably 5 or 6 months ago. And I still have back problems from that one time. So
I was going to ask about
lots
the
of
recovery
regret.
there.
But
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah, but I think that's one of the fun things about cheerleading is it really is for a brief chapter of your life that it really happens, and it makes everything that we do for our customers so much more crucial to get right, because we only get them for a chapter, for a moment,
Yeah.
until we're all sitting here with bad backs,
It's
That's
just
the
our turn to
truth.
get old at this point. So I have one more question here. I know you're transitioning over to the direct to consumer stuff and director of retail marketing, but as you're transitioning back into that e-com strictly D2C stuff, like I know we're gonna have you back on next year to sort of give us the best lessons from 23 and what you're doing. But I mean, we're gonna be right there beside you, hopefully, and doing the whole thing. But like, what are you most excited about when you look at the next 10, 11 months from a D2C standpoint?
I'm excited about opportunity. We have a lot of fresh eyes coming into our company, and a lot of people really challenging what's always been, and what we should continue and what we should change, and adding new products, things like Crocs, that ends up being a perfect product market fit for a sport where kids don't want to wear their competition shoes outside of the actual arena where they're competing. There are different people really challenging that, and also pushing on the data side for us to really understand our customers from not just a qualitative way, but also a quantitative way. We have a lot of people with tribal knowledge of this company, of the sport itself, which are so crucial to us. And then we have this amazing mix of people with really savvy e-commerce and direct-to-consumer and retail skill sets coming in, and really maximizing that opportunity with us to take this team that really knows our customer in and out, and then someone who knows the business in and out, and really putting together a solid team. I think we're going to see a lot of growth over the next few years, really. And I also am excited about diving into the worlds of, so we are also in the dance and marching band space. So I have been in the process of getting schooled on understanding bands at a deeper level. They operate totally different than cheer and dance. Dance and cheer have a lot of commonalities. They have a lot of common things with each other. Marching band is different, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning to kind of roll with it, fail fast, learn and build something. But overall, I'm excited about building a lot of new things in the momentum in that D2C space.
It sounds like we got a lot of risking for the biscuiting going to happen in the next couple of months. So we end every episode. I let Austin come off the top rope with some sort of crazy question. So I'm gonna hand it over to him, and he's gonna help us drive this thing home here. So
I'll
I
ask one of
apologize, or I'm
our
like, this is gonna be
favorites.
great.
No, I'll ask one of our favorite questions that we haven't gotten asked yet. Caitlin, if we were to magically be able to 10x your budget tomorrow, what would be, the first few things that you would want to go out and tackle with this newfound mystic money?
Mystic money is good. Yeah, that's a good question, because you usually it's way crazier than that. So he must really like you, Caitlin, because he's not putting you on the the firing range today.
I would love to expand on our creative assets, and I would love to be able to understand what qualities of certain products really resonate with our customers. I think both in the footwear and the athleisure space, whether that's everyday wear, practice wear, that space, we're wanting to learn a lot. And I think understanding what qualities of these products actually resonate versus how many companies out there are spamming channels like Instagram and TikTok for apparel sales, but maybe aren't seeing the return we assume they're getting from it. We definitely want to understand that more. And so I think we're getting there with shoes. We're understanding a lot. And I would love to see us build out a lot more multimedia campaigns around our athleisure and our apparel.
No, that's good.
That's a good answer.
I think that's interesting there. It's interesting that it's creative too, because creative is one of those things that's really hard to get that qualitative data around. It's so feeling based and emotion driven. I know there are like, oh, the button's red today and it was green yesterday and we A/B tested it and okay, cool. But like also like what's the creative power? We say it all the time, like creative is the variable to success on paid media because it's really the only thing that helps you really stand out on a Facebook ad. Like it's like we all run the ads pretty similarly. It's the creative that you're driving that's really making the difference. So I would love to see what you did.
The apparel is such a mystery, and even who is influential versus isn't. They don't have this lifelong cheerleader timeline. If someone graduated 5 years ago, today's young cheerleader may not know who they are. And, really understanding where we're gathering influence and where we're actually changing their mind versus actually they just needed it and we were a reminder, I think is something that I would love to build out with our team and be able to test and have some concrete results around.
Well, that's amazing. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We'll make sure to link up your LinkedIn account. I'd love for people to connect or at least follow you there because I think the stuff you put out, it's not every day. You don't do the organic social rules of every day, but I think that's a quality over quantity metric for you. And it's always great and it's always high engaging. And that's why I always see it. And I appreciate everything you've done and all the friendship you've given Austin and I over the last, couple of years actually. So it's been great. And even though you're a former USC cheerleader, or maybe it's not even former. I don't know if that's a forever thing for you guys. Probably, yeah. Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna have to bleep that out. We're gonna blur that out. If you're on the YouTube channel, she's doing something very inappropriate. Now we're gonna have to, get no gang signs here, none of that. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much. This has been great. Oh my gosh, you're killing me. The Georgia fan in me. You don't understand, Caitlin. It's the most unhealthy thing about me personally is this stupid football back here. It's bad.
Likewise. I get it.
It's probably why we're such good friends. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.